The intense 12-day war between Iran and Israel sent shockwaves throughout the region, a conflict marked by fierce exchanges and devastating consequences. The world watched with bated breath as the two nations clashed. But when the dust settled and the echoes of explosions faded, Iran's regime endured, standing defiant amidst the rubble. The political structure, though tested, remained intact. Despite battered cities bearing the scars of war and the undeniable economic strain weighing heavily on the population, the Islamic Republic's political structure held firm, its foundations seemingly unshaken by the external assault. The institutions continued to function, albeit under immense pressure. This resilience was a testament to its deep roots, cultivated over decades, and the well-oiled mechanisms of control it wielded. The security apparatus remained vigilant. At the center of it all stood Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, the ultimate authority in the Islamic Republic. His public appearances after the war were carefully orchestrated to project an image of defiance, unwavering resolve, and stability in the face of adversity. These carefully staged moments were designed to reassure his loyal supporters, bolstering their faith in the regime's ability to weather any storm. And perhaps more importantly, to signal to the world that Iran's leadership was unbroken, unbowed, and ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Khamenei's survival, against the odds, was quickly spun into a significant political victory for the regime. This narrative served to reinforce his authority, solidifying his position as the undisputed leader, and bolstering the system's perceived legitimacy in the eyes of many. Yet, beneath the surface of resilience, the war left deep and lasting scars. Economic hardship deepened, exacerbating existing inequalities and pushing many families to the brink. And countless families mourned the irreplaceable losses of loved ones, their grief a constant reminder of the war's devastating human cost. In the wake of the conflict, patriotism surged, a natural response to external aggression and a desire to protect the homeland. But so did quiet, hushed debates about the government's priorities, its handling of the crisis, and the ultimate cost of its regional ambitions, weighed against the needs of its own people. The regime now faces the daunting challenge of managing these conflicting sentiments, balancing national pride with economic realities, all while simultaneously rebuilding its strength, both militarily and economically, to deter future threats. The war, in its aftermath, accelerated internal power struggles within the regime, as different factions vied for influence and control. This period tested loyalties, exposed hidden weaknesses among the elite, and created new opportunities for ambitious players. The battle for Iran's future, therefore, has only just begun, a complex and multifaceted struggle with no easy answers. And the ultimate outcome is to be decided not on the battlefield, but in the shadowy corridors of power, where alliances are forged and broken, and the fate of a nation hangs in the balance. Iran's power rests on three distinct pillars, each with its own role and influence within the nation's complex political landscape. These pillars form the foundation upon which the Islamic Republic is built. First, the clerical establishment, the religious backbone of the country. Second, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, a force born out of the revolution itself. And third, the Artesh, its traditional army, responsible for defending Iran's territorial integrity. The clerics, at the apex of which sits the supreme leader, provide the essential religious legitimacy that underpins the entire system. They also maintain control over key institutions, ensuring their values and principles are upheld across various sectors. The IRGC, born from the fervor of revolution, initially served to protect the nascent Islamic Republic, but over time it has grown into a multifaceted military, political, and economic powerhouse, wielding considerable influence both domestically and abroad. Today, its influence now rivals that of the clerics, making it a critical player in Iran's power dynamics. The Artesh, Iran's conventional military, remains focused on its primary mission, defending the nation's borders against external threats. However, it is deliberately kept out of the political arena, with its power carefully limited to maintain the balance of power. These pillars are interdependent, relying on each other to maintain the stability of the regime. Yet they often compete for influence and resources, leading to internal tensions and power struggles. The IRGC's expanding reach sometimes threatens the clerics' authority, challenging their long-held dominance. It also creates friction with the civilian government's interests, as the IRGC increasingly encroaches on areas traditionally under civilian control. Meanwhile, the Artesh and IRGC maintain a professional rivalry, rooted in differing ideologies and priorities, each vying for prestige and recognition, further complicating the internal dynamics. The balance among these forces is delicate and constantly shifting, requiring careful management to prevent any one pillar from becoming too dominant. Any significant shift in this balance can destabilize the entire system, potentially leading to unpredictable consequences. The clerics justify the system through religious doctrine and pronouncements, providing a moral and spiritual foundation for the regime's actions. The IRGC enforces it, suppressing dissent and maintaining order through its extensive security apparatus. And the Artesh protects it from external threats, safeguarding the nation's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Tensions simmer beneath the surface, fueled by competing interests and differing visions for the future of Iran. But their uneasy coexistence is the key to Iran's stability, preventing any single faction from gaining absolute control. As the IRGC's power grows, its influence on all aspects of Iranian society continues to expand. The future of this delicate balance is increasingly uncertain, raising questions about the long-term stability of the regime. The fate of the regime may hinge on how these pillars adapt to the changing political landscape, or clash, as their competing interests and ambitions come to a head. Only time will tell how these dynamics will play out in the years ahead, shaping the future of Iran. The 12-day war catapulted the IRGC to new heights, showcasing its missile strikes and regional influence. The IRGC's Quds Force coordinated proxy attacks, projecting Iranian power far beyond its borders. State media celebrated the IRGC as the nation's true protector, boosting its political clout. IRGC commanders now shape not just military, but economic and foreign policy decisions. Their growing influence worries traditional clerics and civilian leaders who fear a militarized state. Yet, for now, the IRGC's narrative of constant struggle and security has made it indispensable. Its shadow looms larger than ever over Iran's future. The war reshaped Iran's leadership, elevating those with military and security backgrounds, especially from the IRGC. Former guards now lead key ministries, bringing a security-first mindset to government. A new generation of tech-savvy officers is rising, tasked with modernizing Iran's military after the lessons of war. This shift signals a move toward a more pragmatic, disciplined, and technologically advanced state. But the old guard of clerics and ideologues watches warily, fearing the erosion of revolutionary ideals. The rise of military men in civilian roles challenges clerical dominance, fueling quiet factional struggles. The elite is now divided. Traditionalists seek to preserve the revolution's character, while new leaders focus on national strength and survival. Iran's future will be shaped by this evolving power dynamic. The war deepened the divide between hardline principalists and moderate reformists. Principalists, emboldened by the conflict, argue that only strength and ideological purity can protect Iran. For them, the war proved that force is the only language Iran's enemies understand. Reformists, meanwhile, call for adaptation, greater freedoms, economic reform, and less confrontation abroad. The war's aftermath has sidelined reformists, with hardliners dominating the political narrative and silencing dissent. Yet reformist ideas persist among Iran's youth and urban classes, frustrated by isolation and hardship. The debate continues in private, simmering beneath the surface. The principalists hold power for now, but the demand for change grows stronger. Iran's future remains contested, shaped by this unresolved tension. With Ayatollah Khamenei aging, the twilight of his reign casts a long shadow over Iran. His health has become a subject of intense speculation, both within the country and abroad. And with the war's shock still fresh in the minds of many, the question of succession looms large, creating uncertainty and fueling political maneuvering behind the scenes. The stakes are incredibly high. The opaque process is officially managed by the Assembly of Experts, a body of clerics tasked with selecting the next supreme leader. But real power lies with Iran's competing factions, each vying for influence and control over the succession process. These groups represent different ideological wings and vested interests within the Islamic Republic. Mojtaba Khamenei, the supreme leader's son, is a leading contender, benefiting from his close ties to his father and his position within the establishment. His deep IRGC ties make him a symbol of continuity, ensuring the protection of the revolution, but also controversy, as some view his potential rise as a form of dynastic succession. Some fear his rise would turn the republic into a quasi-monarchy, undermining the principles upon which the Islamic Republic was founded, betraying revolutionary ideals of egalitarianism and popular sovereignty. The prospect of a hereditary succession is deeply unsettling to many who remember the excesses of the Pahlavi dynasty. President Ibrahim Raisi, a hardliner with a judicial background, is another candidate representing the more conservative elements within the regime. But his divisive record and lack of charisma raise doubts about his ability to unite the country and command widespread support. His past actions have made him a controversial figure, both domestically and internationally. A third option, a collective leadership council, has also been floated as a potential solution to the succession dilemma. Blending clerics and IRGC commanders, this model would distribute power among key institutions within the Islamic Republic, could formalize military influence at the top, giving the IRGC an even greater role in shaping Iran's future. Supporters say this would stabilize Iran, preventing any one individual from accumulating too much power. Critics warn of gridlock and infighting, as different factions struggle for dominance within the council. The choice, heredity, continuity, or collective rule, represents fundamentally different visions for Iran's future. Will define Iran's next chapter, shaping its domestic policies and its role on the world stage. The succession battle is already underway, hidden from public view, fought in the corridors of power and behind closed doors. The outcome will shape Iran's direction for decades to come, determining its political trajectory and its relationship with the rest of the world. Despite appearances, Iran's regime is built for survival, not collapse. The aftermath of war won't bring revolution, but controlled evolution, adjusting to new realities while preserving core power structures. The elite's shared interest in self-preservation drives them to manage disputes internally and present unity. The next supreme leader will be chosen to balance factional interests, not to break with the past. Change will be gradual, the IRGC's formal power will grow, and policy may shift toward economic development and pragmatic foreign relations. The regime faces a restless, connected youth and mounting economic challenges. The war has sharpened Iran's dilemma: maintain revolutionary identity or adapt to survive. For now, stability and continuity remain the priorities. Even as the ground shifts beneath the regime, Iran's system will bend, not break, enduring through careful, top-down evolution.